Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Hobby Hi-Fi. Here we are in the great state of Maine at the end of December. I apologize to my subscribers. I see I've got a few extras adding on at this late date, and I haven't been doing much content. So today I thought I would jump into something crazy this morning. Um my seasonal job for the holidays or whatnot has ended. And so I thought I would jump right back into my craft, which is tearing things apart and making a mess and probably ruining everything. But this is an interesting little situation here. And what I've got here is an NAD small form factor CD receiver. Um, and what is it? The C. Boy, I even forget now. I got to look on the front panel. C715. Yeah, that's what it is. They call it a CD receiver. And NAD has always been one of my favorite companies. And so I thought I would take a gamble on this, as not working, because a lot of times I've been lucky with the brand. And so today, uh, I'll just tell you uh, that there was no LED display. This would power up. Wasn't able to see any fuses, which is always the first thing I check. Um, but this unit was having a rough time ejecting the tray, and so a lot of times that comes down to a belt, but then sometimes it comes down to just your drive mechanism here, and parts becoming unlubricated, possibly overused, maybe heated up and whatnot over time, and a lot of times your laser here will burn out. And gladly enough, I noticed when I was peeking around inside of this that this is a common Sony drive that I've dealt with a lot, especially on NAD CD players, because it's basically a Sony. Um, I guess you call the whole thing a drive mechanism, or your what do we call these big bad boys? Your tray. Anyway, this is where your and I've had these apart several times, and you can see here you've got a Sony logo on your laser. Uh, the laser appeared to work, and so if you get the right angle on these and maybe turn the lights off, you can usually tell when you power this up that the laser is actually emitting your red pattern, and which is always a good sign that your laser is probably working properly. Um, so the other question is, after I believe replacing the belt and fiddling around with the mechanism, and I think I read somewhere that about 90 to 95% of your issues always come down somewhere into your internals on these types of things. And you've got a series of gears in here, and if you poke your finger in and push that gear down in here, it will release, and uh, this mechanism here, that sled, if you will drop down and allow you to um, open this this tray. Um, and so this is where it'll allow you to take a look at the belt. The belt is housed, um, hard to get the right angle on this, but maybe from this side, if I show you. Yeah, my apologies, folks. But if you can see my finger, well, yeah, I've got a bad angle on the phone. But anyway, there's a belt. There's a belt here that's a little bit of a rubber band with a little cover on it, uh, down in here. And I've replaced the belt, and it felt a little pretty tight. And so I thought to myself, well, there's not a whole lot else that I can see wrong uh, with this drive mechanism, but it didn't want to open and close properly like it was catching down here. Now these things are lubricated at the factory when they first come out, and the lubrication, there's of course the rail where your laser mechanism will ride, this little metal rail. I can get that out of the way. You can see that slides along this rail and reads your disc from the top side. And there is a series of springs here. This is a sort of your damping mechanism. So there's springs under each one of these four screws and washers that sort of keep that whole mechanism flat. And so somewhere down here there's a gear. I believe they call it a worm gear. I'm not exactly sure. Drive gear possibly, but sometimes those are always lubricated with a lithium grease out of the factory, and so sometimes that grease gets dried up and gooey and whatnot, and you should probably try to clean that up if you're having some drive issues like this. But these are so common, and I've got a box full of these things that I've toyed with over the years down at the house, and I thought to myself, well, one thing I do know is that this laser is going to be important to me, because I've got a CD player over there that I believe has a burnt out laser. So I thought to myself, okay, well, if you're going to be difficult in this, if this drive is not working properly anyway, for whatever reason, then I'm just going to rob the laser and replace that. So I will continue this video in a little bit and see if I can piece together some information for you as I go, and see if I can learn how to edit and group these videos. I don't want to bore anybody with me taking little screws apart, and I haven't quite figured out how to make one of those speed up videos that shows everything in fast motion like I would like. However, if you can see this, let's see, this laser right here has got a brand. It's got a model number, and the model number is KSS 213C. And this has become a very common laser mechanism, and having the Sony label on it says to me that this is a legitimate, OEM product from Sony, and it's one of the good ones. It's not a knockoff. Is it much better or different from the knockoffs? Maybe not. But I feel good about taking this laser mechanism off, and while I'm at it, I can possibly fix another piece using this part till I get to my other box of parts, and in the meantime I can decide whether or not this whole sled is savable. But the beauty of it is that I've got two things that are not working, and if I can rob a part that will allow me to make one of those work today, then I will feel like I may have done something right. Is this the proper way to do it? Probably not. But the availability of these lasers is getting a little bit tough to find, especially the OEM Sonys. And I think I'm going to try to just use the equipment that I know is original and put it back in a nice product that seems to be working properly, and everything else is okay except for just this laser. So I'm going to see how this works out and continue with this video later. The tricky part to this was, once this was actually getting this apart. This board sat on top, so I had to loosen the screws and whatnot. But this sat underneath this board, and so the tricky part is that there's 4 screws holding this down, the drive mechanism. So each one of these legs has a screw that goes in, and interesting, and this may have been why this drive was not working properly, but over in here I noticed that this piece had completely broken off. So at some point, it's always mishandling, mispacking. Somebody got rough with it or whatnot. And so on the bottom side of this, I'm missing a leg, and I said, I don't think that's supposed to be that way. So down in here, somehow I'm going to have to try to possibly glue this back in this position to give me 4 legs. So if this was cracked, it's possible that it was putting stress on the sled. It wasn't quite stable. It wasn't level, and that could have been where the problems occurred with this drive. I'm not sure, but that should be an easy fix to just glue this piece back on this leg, and that will give the tray at least a new leg where it should be. But in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can't get this this laser out, and it's pretty simple. You've just got well, you basically have to take this whole these 4 screws out, and then this once you get this inner part, this inner sled out, that will allow you, once you get these screws and springs out, and a couple of more screws on the top side, then this whole piece will pop out and the laser will be able to slide right off in that rail, and you'll be able to replace get that laser out to use it for something that may work properly with a laser that is functioning well. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the confusion, sorry for the craziness, and sorry for my camera angles. I will certainly try to brush up on all these types of things, but I thought I would share this with you and share my hell with you this morning, and say thank you for watching, and sorry for the lack of content, and happy holidays to all of you, and I will talk to you soon.